And so I knew what ingredients to put in. So combining those two things, I felt like I had a big advantage over other people versus what they know. Because I'd rather get, especially if I'm going to be, an entrepreneur, I'd rather get into an industry that I know and like know what's current and know what's cool and trending versus the people that don't, or being in somewhere I don't know anything about. So that was a big reason for it.
All right, we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fearless Founders again. Ike and I have two fantastic guests. A guest that I've known for 30 years with Greg Butterfield and his new accomplice and friend, Carson. We're excited to have both of you here. We got lots to talk about in a short, condensed amount of time. So let me quick brag on Greg. Greg has been around in the tech community, particularly in the Utah state, but he has had a far-reaching impact on a lot of businesses, from having started businesses from scratch to running multi-billion-dollar size entities and divisions. He has gone and sold companies to Symantec, and he has grown businesses big enough that now buildings in Utah have the name Vivint around it because of Greg. And Greg, come on, tell the rest of the crowd what else you've done. Don't hold back, just so that they can see where you're coming from, that the grades have indeed been earned.
I've got a few balding spots there, and when you said you've known me for 30 years, it kind of made me feel old. So I wish you would have said I've only known Greg for a few years. So
a few years. No, we're there. That's how old I am.
Hey, well, thanks for having us on the call. I'll be brief. I've been fortunate. I was at the right place at the right time, right at the birth of the information age. While going through school, wanted to be an investment banker, got into technology, and my passion is taking business models, old world business models, using process and tech, and figuring out a way to provide a better customer experience while driving significant shareholder value. I've been lucky. I've taken a couple companies public as CEO, one on NASDAQ, one on the New York Stock Exchange. Had the opportunity of doing early stage, as you said, from ideation, figuring out WAMPROM, wow factor scores, all the way through, running a $7 billion business unit. What I'm passionate about, really, those early stage. And so when you said you're doing early stage entrepreneurs, the first thing that came to my mind is I wanted to introduce people to Carson, who's 24 years old. Played D1 baseball, ended up playing for the Los Angeles baseball team. And so what I'm doing now is I'm working with early stage, mainly tech entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs in general, and trying to share a little scar tissue and help them grow and build successful companies. And that's what Carson's doing. So Carson's really the guy that I'm excited for you guys to meet today.
Carson, tell us about yourself a bit.
So I come from a baseball background, not really business or anything, but I've always kind of had that entrepreneurship spirit in me. And so I've tried about, a couple different things, didn't work out, but, it helped me understand at least a little bit of the basics. And I saw a need. I could be almost a small category king where it's, selling soap and skincare to athletes that have never been marketed to before, especially when they have a big problem, with acne and all that stuff. And so we started it in the middle of my season, actually, last year, and it kind of has blown up since then. Obviously, Greg's been so instrumental in all that, like you said, sharing the scar tissue came like the example of, if we wanted to do our own distribution, and then he's like, no, don't do that. So instead of me, taking 6 months and seeing that that's a failure, he's able to say, no, like, don't do that. And so it just saves time, saves so much money, and just, having the partnership with Greg is, something that's been like unimaginably great.
Nice. I believe you. He is that good. And at the same time, good for you for having created a product market and going for it. And the fact that we have both of you on here couldn't be a better fit for our audience. They're all looking to learn. And right now you're a case study as we speak, right? you're doing it in real time. And if you don't mind, I know Greg's got a lot of experience. Tell me how he came up with this idea. You just thought, hey, I'm around athletes and they're stinky. They got acne. How did this come?
Yeah, so I knew if I wanted to start something, I wanted it to be an industry that I had an advantage in, over most people. So I try to pick. So I feel like I knew athletics and baseball a lot, but that was too broad, And so I try to combine two things I know a lot about. And so the other one is, I always used to make my own skincare and soap anyway, because I always thought the other stuff was really bad. And so I knew what ingredients to put in. So combining those two things, I felt like I had a big advantage over other people versus what they know. Because I'd rather get, especially if I'm going to be, an entrepreneur, I'd rather get into an industry that I know and like know what's current and know what's cool and trending versus the people that don't, or being in somewhere I don't know anything about. So that was a big reason for it.
Fantastic. It makes a lot of sense. Greg, where was he heading where you came in and intersected? Where was he at?
Oh, so when I first met Carson, I actually have worked with his dad. Whenever I started a software company, I call his father as one of the first people to help me go build a little startup. He's the best of the best sales guys. And when Steve said, hey, I've got Carson wanting to start a business. So I was fortunate to get in early stage. And there's a playbook, I believe there's 5 stages to a company life cycle, from ideation all the way to traction, scale, and eventually having an exit. And there's ways that you fund it and routes to market and all the stuff that needed to be done. And so early on, I think the role that I played with Carson is just providing alternative ways that he could build a very lean, flexible company that didn't have a lot of risk. And so out of the gate, he did marketing to find out whether or not he could sell it. Before we went and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on inventory, or before we went and raised money from somebody that would take away all his control or take away all the equity. And so it was really from early stage, setting up a C Corp, setting him up for QSBS so that when he has his exit, the first $10 million is tax-free, to figuring out a fractional CFO, to experts on digital marketing and content and different routes to market. And so, over the past 4 or 5 months, Carson has gone from being, early stage startup selling hundreds of dollars a day to now he's doing around $20,000 a day. And his AOV has gone from $10, $15 to $41, $42, soon to be $60. And within 3 months, we'll be at $40,000 a day. And so unit economics and the math and what are the OKRs or the KPIs you should be measuring, those are the things that we've kind of done. I'm fortunate that Carson and I share an office together, and we've become good friends. And, we're texting at dark 30 in the morning or late at night. And whenever there's a question, I'm there to kind of just provide a sanity check, try not to be too prescriptive. But the thing that I've enjoyed about Carson is because he's a professional baseball player, he's used to having a coach. And I don't know if this is something that would be good for your listeners, but I just finished meeting with a young man that has a software company that's hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of revenue, and I'm not sure that I want to work with him. And the reason for that is because I'm not sure that he has the personality or the skill set that's needed to go and build a hugely successful company. Carson is unique in that I've never seen anybody that works so hard. Because of being a professional baseball player, he works 14 hours a day. He's not a prima donna, but he's used to being coached. And what works really well is he'll say, Greg, I'm thinking about doing this. And I'll say, well, why would you want to do that? And he loves being questioned and challenged. And then together we come up with hopefully a solution that's meeting our customers' needs and driving value. So it's been a fun journey over the last 4 or 5 months. And like I said, we're doubling quarter over quarter, and he's just doing a fantastic job.
That is amazing. And in that 2 minute mark, there's like so many gold nuggets that I would want to get into. I wish I had somebody telling me that I need to take care of my QSBS, because I lost a lot of money on that one on my first try, lots. So, Greg, good catch. Sorry, Carson, good catch with Greg.
Yeah, he's the best.
Yes. So tell us, like, what do you guys work on these days? Like, is it like a weekly, monthly, or like annual plans? What do you attack? How do you decide what to attack? Like your stage is actually probably perfect stage for our audience. They're just like they passed the ideation, but they're not nowhere near exit. So like probably step 2 in your definition, Greg.
Yeah, so it's traction where you're validating the market, you're figuring out your personas. And so Carson and I see each other every day. We talk with each other every day, texting or something. But it's very tactical. It's their strategy. We know where we want to be a year from now. But the big post-it note you see on his wall here, the one in orange are all the to-dos for June. And so it's everything from setting up the right financial systems process. What should we measure? Last month, we were selecting a new 3PL. We were figuring out how we create a credit card that allowed us to have 2% cash back to pay for. We're spending $8,000 a day on advertising. So we figured out how to, get 2% cash back. This month and last month, we rolled out a couple new products. We're trying to raise the AOV. And so instead of being just a soap company, he's changing the brand to be more health and wellness. And so we're able to get products that have higher SRPs, or, we can increase AOV, increase margins. But it's daily. We're talking on a regular basis.
Yep. Yeah, we break things down. Obviously, we have weekly goals and then monthly goals and, quarterly, yearly. That's what's important because like you said, we've broken it down into systems. So if we do these things every day, if we do these things every week, we're going to get to where we want to go. And that goes from like the largest, most broad points of the business to the smallest, just daily, even down just to the advertisements daily. Like everything has a system, and that's why it's been working so well. And that's, credit to Greg for teaching me how to do that.
It's all tied to process and systems, right? If you want to get scale, habits and stuff. So every Tuesday we have a staff meeting, which is some of my colleagues at Sage Creek. And so it's everything from, finance guy, a general counsel, a former CMO of a public company. And so we have a weekly staff meeting. Carson and I talk on a regular basis. Every day at 9:00, he meets with the digital marketing people, the routes to market people. Twice a week, we have a meeting with the operational logistics people. And if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. And Carson understands the importance of systems to scale. And so that's what he's doing.
What do you think, Ike?
Awesome. It's I think I've always believed in continuous improvement. Like rather than delayed perfection. Like I think that Mark Twain said that, and in order to be able to do that constantly, like in small increments, is very valuable. I think like a lot of startups, and I've made these mistakes as well. Like I would. When we were growing the company, and then I had the new CFOs, and my investors came with big money, we created annual plans. Those are deadly for startups. You don't know what's going to happen 6 months from now. So just being agile is super important to be able to do those things. Break it down to yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, right? And just tackle things, and then you do micro pivots based on what you learn every week, every month, right?
If you can shorten the time down to small increments of time, then you have better operational execution. It's interesting. Every 5 months, your thigh reproduces itself at a cellular level. Mm-hmm. Every 11 months, your entire skeletal system reproduces itself at a cellular level. So I believe in life, you're growing or you're decaying. And if you're not doing conscientious things every day in all aspects of your life, then you're falling behind. And so we're all on this,
Agreed.
podcast or whatever. We're all in violent agreement that if you can measure it, you can't improve it unless you can measure it. And if you have iterations and you fix stuff really quickly, then you're going to be more successful. Carson's built this business. He's bootstrapped it. We have not taken any outside money.
Amen.
And so, right now we're planning for the November, December, where the business is going to double, and we're figuring out cash flows daily. This morning, first thing I asked Carson, what were sales yesterday? What's cash flow? How much money do you have in your checking account? How are the ads performing? Tell me about the different personas. Tell me about the different routes. How's Meta versus TikTok versus, Google? This month, as far as goals, we're releasing 3 new products. We're redesigning the website. What else do you have on here? We're taking advantage. We've got 110,000 customers that are subscriptions. So we're working on our email blast. How do you increase your ROAS by not doing advertising? How do we go get more money from existing customers with new products? And so we've got an issue with taxes we're working on, manufacturing. And there's some insurance stuff we're working on. So it's everything from tactical to more fun stuff with regards to branding, sales, marketing.
So you mentioned earlier, I think before the call, it was like the manufacturing and like some thought process on that. So can you give us some examples, like what the thing that you were gonna do but you didn't do, you decided not to, like just change things and question your decisions and then revert back? Because I think a lot of first-time founders confuse being assertive and decisiveness with the confidence. Like you have to have confidence and decisiveness about something, but you have to be able to open to change your direction based on the feedback, coaching, or the market conditions you get. Right? Maybe if you have some examples, please share them.
Yeah, no, being flexible has pretty much been one of our main themes here. Things get messed up. Like, your Facebook page is going to get shut down. You're going to lose a bunch of money. 3PL is going to cancel 2,000 orders. Stuff's going to happen. And so the big thing, like you said, with the change of 3PL, because what we were going to do, we were going to try to send it out ourselves. We were going to be our own logistics company pretty much. And the problem with that, Greg said, it was, we want to eliminate as many fixed costs as possible, because you never know, like you said, being flexible, what's going to happen. So say, something crazy happens, then you have all these fixed costs, you're going to go under. But with a 3PL, you pay for, pretty much what you're shipping out. So you're not in charge of those costs, and nothing's going to drown you because you're able to, move. And same thing with doing our own fulfillment. It's like a lease would be like 2 years, and what if we're too big in 2 years for that space? What if, there's too many variables that we can't control. And so as long as we can control as many things as possible and keep that flexible is what's important.
Yeah, I mean, Carson's been great. As I look back over my career, I think the biggest mistakes I've made being CEO is not saying no fast enough, thinking that you can do everything. That's what we've tried to do here based off of his industry and his product category, being a CPG and being digital direct to consumer. We've tried to keep it so that, he doesn't have any risk, doesn't have taxes, doesn't have overhead, doesn't have fixed costs, doesn't have a lot of employees. Everything's kind of variable. And so he's got unit economics broken down that if he does $20,000 a day, knows what his gross margin is. Guess who the first person gets paid in the company? Carson does $20,000 a day. Carson makes $1,000 a day. We make sure that the most important person gets paid first. And he understands the difference between activity and results. He's not a guy that wastes time. He doesn't sit in here and just have casual conversation. It's all based off of results. A big mistake you see a bunch of entrepreneurs do is they go and they raise a bunch of money, and you'll say, what is success? And they'll say, well, I've got 20 employees. I just got a new building, and I've got a massage chair and ping pong tables. And they mistake things for success that I don't think really are success. Success is a happy customer. Success is a repeat customer. Success is having a product that does what you say it's going to do. Success is living your core values. And so what Carson's done extremely well is he's kept his costs down. He sticks to his roots. He sticks to the core values. He's humble. He's teachable. And at the right time, we'll hire people. At the right time, we'll bring in outside money. But Binoy and all of us, if you have the wrong investor, you're dead. right? They've got a 3-year life cycle. They need to raise another fund. They really don't, many of them work for you. They work for the LPs. They need to show a return in a certain time frame. So when the company's doing extremely well, they want you to sell or they want an exit because they need to go raise another fund. They need to raise another $100 million. And so we'll raise money at the right time. But right now, Carson's hugely profitable and he's able to bootstrap it. At some point, we'll do our own manufacturing. At some point, we might do our own 3PL. We will have our own CFO and our own internal employees just at the right time.
It's really rare, Carson, that when you start off to have that much support and guidance, and kudos to you for taking advantage in the proper way, Greg's counsel and experience. I've seen too many times, just like Greg was saying, too many people following the heady limelight that says, hey, I've raised this, I've done this, and it has no correlation to real results. And unfortunately, it's actually a death knell around their neck because now they're beholden and they have to perform unnatural acts because it's a reflection of the unnatural act that the investor has to do. So just keeping it tight and small and making sure that you can actually manage real growth in a systemized manner. Greg's sharing, kudos, thumbs up. I'll tell you, there was one company in which I observed the board member walking in and escorting the CEO out, completely thrown out, unfortunately, in front of all the employees. There's too much drama going on and that I don't want to spend time, but that was his business, right? So keep it close to you as long as you can. And only when you have such great ROI that is absolutely predictable, put $1 in the machine and you get 5 out. Oh, absolutely. Everyone's going to line up to give you money, right? And then you can be very, very selective, like Greg says, at the caliber of the human behind the money. How will they add? How will they contribute? You just don't want money for money's sake. And Greg's already told you that. Right.
Yeah, and that's stuff I would never have known, if Greg hasn't, I'm thankful every day because it's like I'm learning more than you could ever learn anywhere. I feel like it's been amazing. Just the real time daily, lessons have been, just amazing.
That humility is also very rare nowadays. So kudos to you and the parents for giving you that. I'm going to jump into one question that I usually ask at the end. I'm going to jump in right now. Carson, for all those who are listening or watching or whatever, what do you want? What do you need out of the collective environment? What are you looking for help in that Greg may not be providing or whatever? What are you looking for next?
I would say, I would be open to any advice, there's probably advice I don't know I need. So I wouldn't want to pigeonhole it to one thing. I'd welcome literally anything because, there's stuff I don't know that I don't even know. So anything, seriously.
Kudos. Rare again. I look at that. What a response. That's a good sign.
What I've seen best entrepreneurs, founders are the lifetime learners. And you don't want to discriminate. Right, you want to learn as much as you want. There's only one exception. I've been told that in the past I focused on learning too much rather than executing. So you have to cap that at some place. Stop learning and then executing. You need to learn while you're executing. I think, not just way on one part.
It's interesting. Carson and I, there's books. You now get to read articles. You've got curation. You've got great tools out there where you used to have to read books. I used to read a book every 2 weeks. But Carson and I have together, I've given him a list of books to read. And what would normally take someone, weeks to accomplish, it's like 3 or 4 days later. It's like, give me the next one, Greg. And I started out by doing on our text thread a daily leadership principle. And I stopped doing them after, 3 months or something. So 2 weeks ago, I stopped doing them. And I come in the office and he's like, Greg, where's the leadership principles? And he's just a sponge. You can't get enough, And so when he says, hey, I don't know what I don't know, and I love to learn, you've got a voracious reader, someone that really likes to learn. And it's been fun to watch somebody. I've done this a long time. There's very few people or companies that go from nothing to, 10 million in revenue in first year, that has zero debt, that's hugely profitable. And so it's been fun. And I think it's because of Carson's personality. And like I said, I attribute it to sports. It's also Steve and Heidi, his mom and dad are awesome. A funny story there is his dad's over the customer experience. And so his dad, is a sales rep for a hugely successful software company. I mean, he's been CRO of companies like CrowdStrike and others that are worth, tens, hundreds of billions of dollars. But the other night, it was on a Saturday night, we had a situation where we had some product that got shipped out wrong. It was a 3PL issue, and that's why we changed. But his dad FaceTimed me. It's on Saturday night, and he and his wife are sending out packets to customers with handwritten stuff, telling them they're sorry and here's how we fixed it, and we're young and we're learning and we're growing. And so it's not just Carson. I got to give a shout out to Heidi and Steve. You've got parents that put in the first $100,000, and a dad that in the evening hours he was over customer success and customer experience. And he's like, Carson, you can't have unhappy customers, because he's been a sales guy for 30 years and understands the value of, the power of the internet and bad reviews and everything. And so it's been fun to watch the family grow together.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Couldn't do without my parents.
Yeah, awesome. So can we talk about a little bit of those, like how you handle those blows when things don't work, like how you handle it? I'll give you an example. We love telling stories here. A few years ago, my sister wanted to be an entrepreneur, and she does like lotions and creams for other brands, right? So she had to have this office space and then machinery. She got a grant and doing it, and she calls and says, like, brother, we were gonna get this office. It was perfect for us, but somebody else took it. We're done. This is not gonna work out. Like, we lost it. I said, look, she left the paying engineering job, right? The salary job. I said, look, every week you're going to have an existential problem, and you're gonna fix it. Like, go figure it out and find someplace else. And then a week later, a month later, you're going to have another existential crisis. So from now on, your problems are not going to be solved by their managers. You're going to solve it yourself. This is the lifestyle you're choosing. This is we are problem solvers, and this is the new era of it. So that's how I coached her, and she did great. She found another office. She's been there for 2 years now, and she had other problems, and every week she solves them. How do you guys approach it? Like, what is the mentality? How you built the mental capacity to overcome these or be in the moment to be able to persevere?
Yeah, I mean, problems happen all the time. It's not if, it's when they're gonna happen. And so, I mean, everyone knows it's like, a lot of times you can't control the problem, but the only thing you can control is how you respond to it. And so there's no point of freaking out. There's just no point. You just got to look at it tactically. You got to zoom out and be like, okay, I try to have a plan B for, like, in the case anything goes wrong. So like, for instance, we had a problem where 3,000 orders got canceled. So 3,000 people got messaging saying their order was canceled, and then no one got a refund because the stuff wasn't actually canceled. And so you just deal with it tactically, not emotionally. And then if your first plan doesn't work out, then you go on to the next one. But stuff is going to go wrong. And I also like the mindset side of it. I always look at my future self and I say, am I going to be proud of the way I handled this problem? Because I don't want to look back like, I can't believe you handled it so, poorly. And that's something that really, I don't know, I guess pridefully. I don't want to look in the future and look back and be upset how I handled stuff. And so I just think also preparing for the worst. Like Greg always says, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. So if you are preparing for, times when they're rough, then, you're going to know what's going to happen. Like for instance, for advertising's sake, like I said earlier, we had our Facebook account shut down. Now I'm preparing for that to happen again. So we've diversified everything. So if that goes down, that's fine, because we have 7 different routes that we're advertising on. So we're just trying to minimize the single point of failure, so a problem is never catastrophic.
Greg, what else do you add to that?
That's been a daily conversation. When I first met Carson, he said, we're going to do X tens of millions of dollars. And I said, no, we're not. And he said, yes, we are, because I put this amount of money in and we're going to get X amount of money back. And I said, stuff's going to happen, Carson. So that's how our relationship started. And Carson is wise beyond his years being on the planet. And one of the things that I admire about him is, I've told him as CEO, once you get a bunch of employees, you're going to have stuff happen. You've always got to look like you're in charge and you've got stuff figured out. You can't freak out. And he's done that. And in many instances, there are people that are much more senior than him that are having a bigger drama and emotional situation than him. And so he's done a great job. That's some of the stuff that we read. It's some of the stuff that we talk about. Elimination of single points of failure, de-risking the business. All this is part of this process and systemizing things that we've been working on. We have had single points of failure, whether that's advertising or a route or a manufacturer. And that's what we've been doing the last 6 months, is we are eliminating single points of failure. My wife has always asked me, she said, why do you always look at worst case scenario? And I said, so you can have a first class life. And, you want to be optimistic, but you always live with a healthy dose of paranoia. Binoy and I worked for a company that was $1 billion in revenue, and they're out of business. In today's world, with democratization and the way things have happened, you cannot be lazy. You've got to always be prepared. And so that's what Carson's doing. He's putting systems and process in place. He's eliminating single points of failure. And there have been lots of, even in this little 5-6 month old company, we've had lots of failures, and we're fixing stuff.
Cool. Very cool. Awesome. I have one more question, if you don't mind.
Go.
So earlier, you guys talked a lot about not locking your capital, right, to fixed costs. It looks like you're outsourcing a lot of stuff, like the shipping, for example, right? What, at this stage, what do you not outsource? Is it the product development? Is it the customer service? Or there's nothing under the sun for the sake of not locking the capital? You should outsource everything. What are your principles on that?
Right. What do you?
Yeah. So right now, customer success is being done by us. If you look at financing and cash flow, that's being done by us. Mm-hmm. If you look at advertising, routes to market, sales, customer acquisition, CAC stuff, that's being done by us. Intellectual property, we're trying to have our own formulas, our own IP associated with the products that we sell. So that is us. Anything that we can outsource. So I've looked at life. Things that are strategic, you own, you buy, or you control. Things that are tactical, you try to have variable and you try to outsource those. I've learned in life that you can partner and find somebody that's an expert at something that can do a much better job than you. For us to think that we're going to be the best at logistics and picking and packing and pricing and shipping is a misnomer, especially when we're 5 people starting this thing. And so like I said, there's an evolution that will take place, and there'll be time where we'll bring some stuff in-house. At some point, we might do our own manufacturing. Right now, the way we're solving the problem is we have multiple manufacturers. It keeps people honest. We have 80% of our business that goes through our main suppliers, so we get the best pricing. But we have others that keep them honest and make sure that in the event they can't ship product or can't get it out on time, that we have others that can fulfill it. So right now we're lean. Unit economics are variable focused, and Carson's working out of our office. He doesn't even have rental expense. And it's tempting. I mean, 5 temptations of a CEO. The first temptation is you build a monument unto yourself. You want your own office. You want your own building. You want to say, here's where I go to work. So Carson is outsourcing his office. He doesn't even have a fixed cost. He doesn't have a 3-5 year warehouse expense, those kinds of things. Eventually we'll get there. But right now it's really lean.
Fantastic. It's the right way to go. Carson, if you think about how you're interacting, you even said, I think about my future self, not wanting to be remiss about how I behaved, right, in the past to address a problem or whatever. What are you already starting to think about in terms of how to lead a team, how to develop a team? Who do you need to add on next? What are some of the thought processes you've gone through? And Greg may have already helped you, but talk it out loud and share with the audience what you're anticipating. Because I heard Greg say 4 or 5 people right now. Who are they? And then when do these headcounts start to come in, and how do you lead them? That's more importantly.
Right. I think the biggest thing is obviously surrounding myself and our team with people that are smarter than us, because you are who you surround yourself with, especially in business. And I think that's important to finding roles for people that they know and that they know it better, than we know it, because I want to be able to delegate. I want to be able to know that person is doing their job. So for instance, with, advertising, I'm doing majority of the advertising, but I want to be in a position to, fire myself. So if I get hit by a train, everything still goes on like normal, so that's important to me. And then I would say leading the team, I guess like Greg said, always knowing that it's going to be okay when things are going bad, and acting, paranoid and like stuff is bad when things are going good, because that's, people get too high, people get too low. You got to stay even keeled. And I think that's the biggest thing when leading people, because I don't think a lot of people understand that. People are too emotional. People get too high with the highs and too lows with the lows. And I think being a leader, you have to, show no emotion. Things are bad. You gotta be optimistic when things are good. You gotta be, pessimistic.
How much of that comes from sports when you strike out or your batting average?
That's exactly where I was going to go. Right?
I mean, a big thing, the worst day in business, it's still not as bad as so far to me, going 0 for 5 in a baseball game, sleeping in a motel in Modesto, California, wondering, what am I doing? You get a chance every day. But I think sports is a big thing, because sports, especially baseball, it's, if you fail 70% of the time, you're the best in the world. So I feel like I've had repeated failures, and I think that's honestly invaluable to business.
Yeah, a lot of founders without that background learn it on the job, including me. Like I didn't have professional sports background. So in my early days, like when there's a big challenge, I would be in a funk for 2 weeks, and then as the day went by, okay, 1 week, 1 day, 2 hours, 15 minutes, and just pack up and then and go. So you had these experiences from the sports background, but most founders, I think, struggle there, and then they just need to teach themselves. They need to get into that motion of learn, failing is how you learn.
Right. And I think there are two ways to look at it, because I also see a lot of people that, come from sports backgrounds and they're tired of, getting their face punched in every day, and they go for a route that's, a little safer. They like the security because they haven't, really had it before. At least with, baseball, you got to go through the minors, get to the majors. So people are just tired of the being scrappy. And I personally enjoy it. I enjoy the challenge. I enjoy solving things. I find it very fun.
With regards to headcount, Benoit, the only full-time employee in Ball Boys is Carson. And so that's what Sage Creek does. My family office, it's been in business 20 years. So we have finance people, digital marketing people, ad people, sales people, legal people. And so what we'll do is we'll fulfill that fractional role for Carson. And then when it comes time for him to field positions, we're not professional recruiters, but with 40,000 people on LinkedIn, when we need the best CFO, I will help him go and recruit that person, or CRO or marketing or whatever that needs to be done. And so right now it's Carson, and then he's got his mom and his dad, so let's put this in perspective. In the last 4 months, Carson's moved from California to Utah to be around us, and manufacturing and logistics. He's gotten married, and he's taken a company from doing hundreds of dollars per day to $20,000 a day in the last 4 months. So it's been exciting to watch.
So that leads me to the last question, because we were going to run out of time. How are you managing your work-life balance and all the topics that people talk about? Because you've got a wonderful new wife waiting for you somewhere to give her some love and affection. But what are you doing?
I mean, my wife's so supportive. She loves it. She does the customer support too. So, I mean, and people always said, like, oh, you got to be, and there's opinions. People are like, oh, you got to be single to build your wealth and then find. I don't know if my wife's been so supportive and pushed me to be hard, because like now it's not just me. Like, I mean, worst case scenario, if it was just me, like, yeah, I'll go live in wherever. But now I got my wife, and that pushes me harder. I don't know. Not that I wasn't working hard enough, but it was like, it's almost an innate thing to want to protect and, provide. And so I think that's pushed me really hard. Into your question about work-life balance, I like the work. So I enjoy doing it all day. It's not like I come home like, oh, I can't wait to be done. It's like, it's more like, oh, I can't believe I got to go to sleep now because I just want to work on this,
How much time do we spend talking non-work stuff? That's success is not just money. You know that, Binoy, right? There's a difference between real success and money. And so how much time do we spend just talking about work-life balance and marriage and just life stuff in general? We probably spend a big percent of our time just saying, how do you build a hugely successful company, driving shareholder value and a great customer experience and not getting divorced? Or, that's one of the benefits, I think, of an old guy that's old enough to be his dad and a young guy is, I made this mistake. Don't make the same mistake I made. So we spend a lot of time just talking. Some of our books we read and articles and stuff, they're not about tactical strategy, things around business. They're about life. Yeah. I have 6 F's that I govern my life by: faith, family, friends, fitness, finance, and fun.
Good. I like those 6 F's.
My life's not a coincidence. Carson's life's not a coincidence. It's setting daily habits. It's waking up at a specific time. It's making sure that all those things that are important, including his lovely wife and his family at some point, that he doesn't have a hugely successful company and lose things that are really more important than money.
Whoa. I think that couldn't be the better summary on that. That's it. That last bit, I completely believe in. I just met with a president of a company today, and the discussion was around performance and getting more from his performance. And Greg and Carson, and I said to him, can I ask you first, how's the performance at home? And he went, it could be better. I said, if I may make a suggestion, that your work performance pales in comparison to the home performance. And in fact, if the home is humming, your work's going to hum that much easier, that much faster. I truly believe that. And I try to live my life along that. The fact that the two of you are working together, kudos. I wish everybody had a Greg Butterfield, and that a Greg Butterfield had an enormously talented, pious, and really hardworking Carson at the same time. It's an incredible match. Kudos for both of you for sharing the journey, right? This is an amazing journey. We have to close. And yet in this short amount of time, look at the nuggets we got out of this particular podcast.
I have a few CPG friends. I'm definitely going to have them watch this.
Awesome.
hey, we will help in any way possible. Thank you for being with us today, both of you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And stay with us for just a sec, but we're going to call it quits. For all of our fearless founders, watchers, and listeners, tune in. You can see how talented these dynamic duos are out there, and have faith. You can make it too. So until next time, Ike, we're signing off. We'll see you next time.
Hey, dream big, everybody. Go conquer the world.